This conference will now be recorded.
All right. I am going to call to meeting the order of the call. Yeah, you've got what I say. Call to meeting the Belchertown Creative Economy Committee meeting to order on Monday, April 14th, 2025 at 5:45 p.m. Okay. So we are going to start. Again, I know we've been shifting a little bit, kind of getting the real flow of what our agendas will look like as we keep moving forward. So I put public speak and upcoming events and announcements, since it was naturally happening during that time, just kind of all at once in that section. So we'll kick it off with our roundtable, public speak, and upcoming events announcement updates.
I don't even know if it's really worth saying because I feel tentative, but the sculpture bench, there's long lags in between my correspondence with Karen. She's back in school, she's teaching. She also just had an exhibit open at a gallery. So the last we connected, May 3rd, during the Viewfinder Kids Workshop is when we would do that. And then I realized I'm not in town that day. So I said, oh, well, hopefully you can just do this on your own. And maybe we would want to plan something a little before that starts, because we were talking about maybe the library having an event at the same time to get more people. Because obviously if they're doing Viewfinder, they can't also participate in the sculpture thing. So I don't know. I'm feeling like
the other issue with Viewfinder with those workshops, at least the last I looked, I have not looked in a couple of days for the adult ones, but registration is really low.
Okay, well, we can promote that as well. So that might not be an event, like we would need to plan a secondary thing at Lake Wallace on that day to get people there. Is the library interested in doing something like that, or is it not?
On the May 3rd?
Yeah, around the same time as Viewfinder.
Yeah, you're
still interested in doing
sure.
That? How much time do you need? I'm trying to just lock her in.
Okay, so that's the thing. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's soon. I know. Like even if it was leading up to 4 p.m.
Right, but I can be there earlier, because I'll be there to help, to assist you, especially in the outdoor part of the Viewfinder work.
So, wait, is May 3rd, we have something for the adults in the morning and the kids in the afternoon? Is that what May 3rd is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm talking
so
about.
we have nobody registered for the kids one on May 3rd.
And we also have another library program that afternoon.
Oh, wow. So we are over programmed for May 3rd. So what would you like for me to do about this bench thing? I'm starting to think we should just move on to help her get the materials that she needs, and she maybe won't be able to capture more community input, because this has been trying to schedule something for several months.
I've got May 4th, that's Sunday afternoon, the next day, with, a trail, friends of the trail, clip and chat. And then tentatively thinking about inviting dog walkers to meet me in front of Arc Point. And use the brewery as a starting point, and they're happy to spread the word to get the conversation going about elevating the dog walking culture, especially at Foley Field. So I've got those two things going on Sunday the 4th, and the trail, Friends of the Trail, starts at 2:00, and then I'll be meeting folks with their dogs or without at Arc Point at 4. So it's kind of a combination of things.
How long does the clip and chat usually go?
I've got just an hour and a half. Hoping to get more people to.
I just wrote down what is going to be my new go-to all the time: elevating the dog walking culture. It's such a wonderful way.
There's magic in phrasing.
There's words. Words wonderful.
How many people can you roughly estimate for the clip and chat? And is it a family mix or?
It can be a family mix. I've gone anywhere from 3 folks who showed up last time to a dozen or even 20 if one of the sports teams decides to come and join me for doing their community service. I haven't gotten any positive response back from the high school, the sports teams yet.
Have you reached out to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like the Quabbinaires,
Right.
I think the rec department has, what they used to have, like Little Tykes Hikes kind of thing. You know, Becky Smith.
Yeah, she's not doing that anymore.
I know she's not doing that anymore,
Yeah,
but she's
right,
still
right.
connected to a lot of people that might enjoy that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, that's the
What's the
thing.
time frame, Molly? How, like, it needs to be in May?
that she was asking for May just to get the input, so then she can start concepting and then build and have the thing built by the fall. You know, if there was an amazing thing happening
Available on April 21st when we're doing the mural painting.
at the transfer station.
Yeah.
You can have the most people.
Yeah, we were trying to get her at Lake Wallace.
I know,
That's
all right.
But
I could ask her. I'll throw that out. April 21st. That's a Monday.
it's considered a holiday.
Yeah.
I don't know how many will have it that either, but
Okay.
I mean, she wants community input. I would think that a lot of people involved in something like that knows Lake Wallace.
Yeah.
As well. I don't know, just to.
Yeah, we can throw it out there. Because I feel like I've just been grasping at like what could possibly be happening, and then we're not aligning on anything. That won't stop her from doing the mural, I don't think, or if she's really desperate for more input, we can plan something at the library or like at an event where we know, I think it's the Lake Wallace at this time of year combination that's hard.
Well, and it's a little bit of spitballing, but I've got another Lake Wallace critter sampling on Friday, May 3rd, 2nd rather, Friday, May 2nd, from 3:30 to 4:30, kind of catching kids right after they're coming out of the elementary school. And last time I had a dozen or 14 kids and 8 adults who showed up for that. So I wound up having to cancel the one that I was supposed to do this past Friday.
Okay, so that's confirmed May 2nd, 3:30 to 4:30. Okay.
And the library could help promote that. I mean, I could probably get more families to attend that.
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody posted it on, is there like a Little Tykes Facebook page or Small People of Belchertown kind of?
There's a
Facebook?
moms,
Yeah,
the moms,
group.
kids.
Yeah.
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 We're equal numbers of that.
Yeah.
And
Okay, these are good options we can look into.
I think I'd rather piggyback off of May 2nd more so than the weekend.
Got it.
So also, is it May 3rd at the gardens and not at Lake Wallace?
What, the viewfinder?
The viewfinder.
Oh, I thought it was Lake Wallace. I don't know.
No,
Oh, is that?
the one on the 22nd is at Lake Wallace, the one on the 3rd is at the school gardens.
Okay, so we get to
So that one
sounds
would
like the
piggyback
second
as
would be a
well.
push,
May 2nd.
or fourth for the clip and chat possibly.
Yeah, or April 21st, but that's so soon.
The other thing about May 2nd, what time is that at?
3:30
to 4:30.
We also might be able to get the day school to come.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
I'm-
could I mean, it'd be all kids, but that would be great.
Right.
They use
Right.
that space.
But some of the parents might need to
Yeah.
pick up over there, depending on what
3:30
time
to
it's at.
4:30 is
So you
a
might
very
also get
busy-
some adults
that's
that
a
way.
busy
I think
time.
May 2nd might be a really good time to do it. And I'm happy to reach
So
out to the day
Yeah.
school and ask if they can bring us even just a
Even
small
a
group
small
of kids.
school age or something, like
Yeah.
a small group of kids that don't normally get picked up
And
at
if
that
they know
time.
enough
or-
ahead of time, they can tell the parents, if
Yep.
you're not, if
Okay.
they're not here, they're gonna be there. Yeah,
Okay.
I think May 2nd
Yeah.
might be.
Even if it's like older school age
And
kids
it's
or
also
anything,
Mr.
yeah.
Schuyler's birthday,
Oh,
so.
oh, is it? There you go.
I'll make a
Mr.
big
Schuyler
deal
can
out
do
of the
it,
whole
yeah.
thing.
Okay, I will recommend that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
so
great
just
idea.
let me know if she's available that day, then the 3 of us will.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
Thank
and I'll
you.
say along with Christopher Heights Day School uses that area
Yeah.
like once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. So that sounds ideal. Thank you.
I've got the morning of the 18th, which sounds like it's really soon. It's really soon.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. I'm going to
Yes.
be doing a couple of sessions with the day school in the morning because it's a Good Friday, so that
Right,
kids
but
are off
she could
school,
not,
so
we
accommodations.
originally had invited her to that one and she's not available that day.
Right, but we can talk to
Yeah.
them about.
Right,
the
we
second.
can, well, yeah, we can work with the day school on that day to invite them.
Okay, I'll follow up with her today, see what I can
Yeah,
get.
yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you. And then the only other question or thing that had come up with the BCC was the idea, like we help the grantees market their events and we recommend these things to do, like post on Facebook, make us a Facebook manager. But there's now the events@belchertown.com email account and the newsletter. What happens if we email the events, like,
.com or .org.
or whatever it is, I don't know, but like the
events@belchertown.com, and that email goes to myself, to Kate, the communications manager, and to Esther. And then we can take that information, Kate can take that information and put it on the town events calendar, and then we're kind of cross-promoting.
Okay, is that the best place? And then,
Belchertown.org, excuse me, thank you.
okay, is that email address, would that get us into all of the channels? That one? If we email that, you would figure out, like, you'd put it in the newsletter, you'd put it on calendar,
The newsletter is separate.
newsletter separate, okay.
So the newsletter, there was a registration link to sign up.
I did that,
Yeah, so
okay.
maybe you just use your Ask the BCC as well. Oh, no.
But how do
no,
you
because
submit
can
content? Yeah,
I think
I
they
didn't-
have a newsletter, an email too. I think it's a newsletter at Belchertown.
Okay.
I think they have a, not 100%, but I believe there's a link where you can submit your
There is.
events.
Yeah, there's a link for submissions, but they also have an email that you can send in.
okay, we can look into it. I just wasn't, like, when we're giving the grantees instruction or guidance, I just want to be like as streamlined as possible, but it sounds
Yeah.
like we'll just hit the different things. Okay.
Yeah, so the events@belchertown.org goes to the town Facebook page. Kate will put everything on the town website, and then that gives us, like, we're asking people to submit all of their event details, and within it, if they're submitting their event, it has to be at least 48 hours in advance in order for us to plan to publicize on the social media channels and get it on the town website.
Okay,
And
so
that's to myself, to Kate,
I
and
don't know,
Esther
just
at
the code
BCTV.
is-
cool. All right, so we'll do those.
Allison, is Linda texting you or emailing?
She was emailing.
Oh yeah, Linda was trying to get in, but the access code wasn't working for her.
That's interesting.
She wanted to give an update on the mural.
Okay.
Yeah, when we get into the discussion and action items, can I propose we shift the order so that the container mural project update goes first?
Yep, absolutely. Do we have to vote on that? No, I can make that decision, right? Yes. It's a good conversation. Yes, I'm sorry, Linda is asking, I was just going to copy the code because the code, it looks like, worked for both yourself and for Allison, so, yeah, apologies. So, okay. I'll get that over to Linda while we're going on with that.
Well, in the meantime, like Wallace, yeah, I'm hopeful that things are perking up. I think having the viewfinder workshops out like Wallace is going to make a difference. Like I said, can't remember what day it is. On the 28th, yeah, there were, like I said, about 12, 14 kids who showed up for the critter sampling, and we'll have to like reach out to people and see if I can get a few more adults to just volunteers to help out when those events are happening, because I think they tend to be really popular. And at the end of it, everyone was really insisting they wanted to know what was the next date.
Nice.
Do we have any method of communicating with homeschool parents? It seems like that would be a good.
I do, I have many connections with them.
Yeah, well, what I'm looking for is to have another adult who can
More
be,
volunteers.
or two who can be, hopefully, people who want to be a friend of the trail, friends of Lake Wallace, you know,
Do you
would
know,
also
do
would
you know
be
Karen and
friends.
her family?
Yeah.
Were they there? I can reach out to them because she could be a helper and so could either of her parents. They're the ones that do it for us for the library in the summer. We do something very similar. They always volunteer, so if you already have a connection with them, but if not, I'm happy to.
Yeah,
reach
I
out to-
had a
to
connection in the
Lynn.
past, so then, you know, like afterwards, I get that from you. But that was good. I've had more people reaching out, expressing interest in joining Friends of the Trail. They're not sure how they will participate, that's okay, they're joining. That's 2 more people. And then had 3 people show up for the first clip and chat that we did. And hoping some more people will come. I've got, I'm doing the day school in the morning on Friday. Gonna do 2 separate sessions with the day school. Laura Sharon and Sam Holland are both really excited about that. And then in the afternoon, doing our spring trail work, part 1. And part 2 is on Saturday, the 26th, in the afternoon after the Earth Day, the Celebrate Earth Day event on the Common that's being coordinated by the Conservation Commission. So I've got a few things that are lined up. I've got some more dates that I'm having to kind of float a little bit, being able to do more critter sampling events and friends of Lake Wallace, but I am hopeful that it's starting to gain a little bit of momentum and we'll have more people. And just want to talk to dog owners about, elevating the culture. One of the things that I found out from my neighbor who works for Amherst DPW is that, long story, end point. Amherst DPW picks up from the dog park, the waste container every day, somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds.
Wow. That's a lot.
So for people who are saying, well, how about just putting a container there? Well, you're adding a lot of person hours.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's already containers there. People are already not using them.
At Lake Wallace.
Yeah. I go there with my dog all the time and I use those garbage cans all the time. There's hardly anything in them. There's one by the skate park.
Okay.
There's one by Foley Field. Those are out year round.
Right.
And then when the warmer weather comes, there's other ones at Foley Field.
We need a poster contest.
Yeah,
Little kids,
Pick up your-
little kids.
Yes.
I also did reach out to there's a Friends of the Amherst Dog Park people that I reached out to, and I haven't connected with them yet. But I'll talk to them too, because it really, is just sort of awful, that condition that the trail, especially around Foley Field, got into, and
I just personally found that people, they would avoid embarrassment before they would avoid criticism.
Yeah.
Do you understand, what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So that's why I think humor. I was serious, but imagine, what did political signs can get made in 15 minutes by so many people with the printers and everything else in their house. It would be cute to have little posters that kids drew sticking all around about
elevating their
elevating
dog.
the culture. Or at least elevating something from the
Put a-
culture.
We'll put in the future agenda request.
Well, they have, a neighbor sent me signs from, the Silvio Conte
Yeah.
park, and, I'm failing at finding them, but they were very, very cute. Oh, here we go. It's, all good dogs, please inform your human not to leave your ornaments in the trees or gift bags along the trail.
That's very cute.
Ask your human to use the waste container provided. Good dog. And the other one, calling all dogs, please ask your human to keep you on a leash at all times for your safety and the safety of others. Please ask your human to place your bag of waste in the dog waste container. We were talking about doing a stick library.
Oh,
And the library.
Yeah, those are so cute.
So a sign like that, just with like
Yeah.
places to put sticks.
Right next to the
Yeah.
dog, right?
Yeah, stick library. Yeah.
Are there any other upcoming events or announcements we want to touch on for this evening?
I have a public speak question. The updated committee charge that we did,
Mm-hmm.
it's, the old charge is still on on the website?
Okay.
I don't know, was there a process, did the selectmen have to approve the
Yeah.
committee charge? Was it?
I believe we did approve, it did get approved during a meeting, so
Okay.
I'll follow up. I can take on I will follow up on that and see where it is on getting reposted on the
I
website.
was
No,
just
thank
wondering,
you.
because
Yeah, thank you
today,
very
and I went,
much.
oh, this is the old.
I think it might need to go to the select board.
Okay, was
First.
that where it got
Yeah.
left? Because I know
Yeah.
we approved it at our meeting, so,
Right, but that's why I
okay.
said I don't know if it
Yeah.
would require, because the selectmen issued the charge, so I would
Yeah.
think they would have to approve it,
Yeah.
but it's gotta get on the agenda.
Okay, we can put that as I will take on as a to-do to make sure we get that updated and in on the website properly. Okay. Are there any other public speaker upcoming events? I have one, but it's more a next meeting agenda request, so. All right. Approval of March minutes. I know I sent them out. If you were able to, if you didn't attend, I understand you can abstain, or if you were able to read them and approve them, we can have somebody make a motion.
I make minutes.
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving March minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? All abstain. Perfect. Approval of March minutes pass. So for Maud made a request to move the container mural project update to the top of our discussion and action items list. So yes, we can move that to the top of the list. And Linda got on, and Maud is over there, and we can take it away.
Primed and ready.
And I just put up your picture, Linda, of the primed container.
Look at that.
Doesn't it look lovely? And it doesn't even have a mural on it.
Yeah, we can't, don't put any trash in
I
it.
know.
Don't put any trash in it.
Yeah, so that was a big deal today. I had a couple people down there, took a couple hours for two. So, and tomorrow the intention is to get the other container next to it, that cardboard container, up to the garage to be power washed and painted later in the week. I know Cowan is interested in getting going this weekend, so that's my goal. And then in the meantime, we'll get the other container back from Casella. It has a wheel that's broken, so we're going to fix a wheel and we're going to power wash that, and then we'll get that back down there to be primed. I think we can get that done next week. That would be Josh's container. And that's my update.
Great job, Linda. I know you've done a lot.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, so this first container here is the one that's for Melissa. The one behind it will be Cowan's, and like Linda said, he's painting next. And then the one that's kind of slightly below will be Josh's. And partly that's because of the design is primarily on the high side of the container. But the trade-off is that one travels more, so it'll be seen more on the highway, and his text is the biggest and most legible from a distance. So it just made sense. So that was just to explain the allocation of containers. And they all seemed really happy with like where they're at.
Yeah, we got all the, I believe at this point we have all the paint materials ordered, all the sundries. Yeah, I'm really excited. We got some action to roll in the next few weeks.
So we need to start talking about Trash Gala then
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, because it seems like they're going to be done by the maybe like end of month, early May. Which is super exciting news. We're like on target. It's a miracle. But first things first is Melissa's paint party is upcoming, and we've got that on oh my gosh, 21st.
21st,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
21st. Yeah.
And so we got the press release out. It's out on socials. It's been going around. So hopefully we'll see that in the Gazette and the Sentinel this week. And there's also print copies. So it's going there. But yeah, definitely. I think the production logistics was kind of like quiet publicly for a minute there because we were very like in the weeds with the artists, with all the DPW team trying to coordinate all of this. But now that we're kind of in the implementation of that plan phase, I think it's going to just run. And yeah, we should reconnect soon. The working group around the murals, we can reconnect soon to plan for the trash gala.
Can I ask, do you have a date for the actual painting? I'm sorry, I missed it, or?
The 21st.
So there,
That's
so the paint party that's open to the public is on the 21st from 4:30 to 6:30. Beforehand, Melissa's going to be doing some painting prep. So she's going to do the outline and she's going to be painting in the numbers. So it's very much like a paint by number situation for these kinds of paint parties. And then after that, she'll go through and she'll kind of fix things. I mean, it ends up being really helpful for the artists to have community participation because it's a way to get like big blocks of color on really quickly.
Right.
But
Right.
then after, so that should be prepping. That one will be well on its way. Keawan is starting this upcoming weekend as well, and we'll kind of go past a little bit further. And then, like Linda said, Joshua's is the last one. And then he'll have a couple of weeks where it'll be painted outside of that area where it typically sits at.
So a good time for a photographer, if I could get a photographer to come, would be what time frame on the 21st?
Well, it's 4:30 to 6:30. Yeah. Do you have a connection with a photographer who does events?
I mean, I would do it, but no, I moonlight for the Republican, the Springfield paper.
Yeah.
I can see if they could send somebody. I think I've got to pick up a director that day. No, an actor. I'm involved in a film, so I got to pick up an actor at that time frame. But I could certainly pitch it once I get the press release to the Republicans. It's not a photo op and a long caption about about the whole narrative about the project. If not, they'll assign a story, which maybe I'll do a story. We'll see.
Amazing. Yeah, I haven't made headway with them for our projects, but that would be great if I could pass our press materials through to you.
That's great.
Amazing. Thank you.
I mean, you can bother with them, but I have, I'm writing for them all the time, so.
Amazing.
I can pitch it, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good hint.
I just did a little photo. I was just like going to the Y on my birthday, and I got to Greenfield. I'm like, what's up with this church up in Greenfield? It's like completely looks like it's getting demolished. And so anyway, I took some pictures, and immediately they were like, yeah, we'll take it. And there's a little narrative behind this moving of this ancient church in
Nice.
Greenfield to its original spot. So anyway.
Amazing. Okay, well, I'll have to send an updated version of the materials. I pitched it primarily to outlets who already had a lot of familiarity and did coverage of this project previously.
All right.
But I will give a fuller kind of background on it and send it over to you.
Sure. I mean, it doesn't have to be extensive. It's really all I'd be interested in is the time to send a photographer, and then the little background, because it's going to be 100 words if you're lucky.
Yeah.
For a caption, and if they do a story, it's usually about 800 words.
That would be a dreamy. Great. Thank you so much, Michael.
I'm not promising anything.
No, but it's great to have a line in.
I know, I'm wondering if it's a conflict of interest, but I don't, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure we can swing it so it's not. I mean, the fact that my day job, I mean, we have all got sort of day jobs.
Yeah, no, you'd be fine.
You just came across a pitchable project here.
That's right. Well, it's been in the paper for a while now.
Yeah.
Sentiment.
Yeah.
Does Melissa need any help in the morning setting up? No. I know I'm free that morning and I can hold things.
Stir penny.
I can stir penny.
I don't think we'll be setting up in the morning. It starts at 4:30, but there'll be a crew of us there. If you are available and interested, I mean, we'll be helping set up. Setup is it's pretty light, but that we'll be doing kind of welcome, parking, traffic control, kinds of things. But yeah, please, everyone, add it to your calendars. Come on out, even if you don't kind of take an active role, pick up a roller,
Nice. Yeah, and Maude, if I could just hit on that parking for a sec, because we did discuss whether we needed sign up, and we pretty much determined that there's enough space down there, although nothing is organized. There should be plenty of parking if people come and go on site, but then we may have some overlap on Hamilton Street, and in that case, if people are there and want to volunteer on making sure the parking is organized, that's something that's a little up in the air that we think we can handle.
I can do that.
My question to parking is, should we try to get everybody on the same side as the transfer station? And if so, can we get a couple of no parking signs to stick in on the other side to start encouraging people to only park on one side of the road?
That's a good point. Yes, probably. I think if we have enough people there, we can keep them directed. Let me look into that, because that's just a whole nother division and we got to pull out the no parking signs that are stashed away because they're used for the fair. So I'm not going to promise that's not a bad idea, but I was hoping we would have enough bodies to make sure that we can make, direct traffic on one side of the street, and I'll be there to help. So, I just want to throw that out there.
I'm pretty good at pounding those signs, and I do it for SOAR and for Food Truck Friday and for Winter Light Night. So I have my hammers in my car all the time. So if you bring just even a couple to put on the opposite side of the transfer station, just even a few, just to, at least so that they're not double parking right at the transfer station.
Okay. All right. I'll take you up on your hammer.
I got it in my car.
So bring your hammers, bring yourselves, bring your friends, family, neighbors, and point people to parking, do some painting, in and out.
Grubby clothes, right?
Grubby clothes.
Yes, grubby clothes. That's definitely.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
This is the biggest.
Okay, all on.
So, I mean, I'll put, if we think if it's good timing, then I'll put the trash gala on our next meeting, because it's right at the beginning of May.
Yeah, so our working group will meet in the interim to pull together some proposals to bring back.
That would be great. Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
Okay. I mean, that brings us to.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm a little delayed here.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, that brings us to grant opportunities discussion. So there's a couple grants listed on here specifically, with that Maud had put some deadlines on, so we can go through updates or go through thoughts on different ones. So I'll kind of let Maud go lead the way and start the first one.
So we had raised a meeting or two back around creating a space to coordinate with ourselves as a group, what we wanted to prioritize for project grants coming up, with other town entities and like with municipal entities, and with other nonprofits or committees or what have you in town. So there's a lot of things that we wanted to kind of talk through here. I will quickly correct that I accidentally wrote April 15th, which is tomorrow. It is not April 15th. It's May 15th.
Thank you. That was going to be a question. I didn't have time to look it up today, but yeah, that was a question. Did you have something already written?
It opens tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it opens tomorrow. So, this one, I spent some time reading it today, and Allison, we were on a thread together where we were just like spitballing. It does have some limiting parameters. You can't do, like, it just informally, like, mentioned it to Linda about the swap shop, and like, you can't actually do building stuff. It's primarily for program or education. And I mentioned it to Sarah Fortune, and actually you can't do it for cleanup, and that's why I didn't talk with you, Louise, about it. So there's a few things like that that are kind of off limits with this. Also, they don't do art projects or exhibitions. So, Jen had talked about, maybe for the trash gala, and I was like, want. This isn't necessarily going to fit for that. So some other ideas, I mean, Allison, I don't know if you want to throw out what you had mentioned, but I think kind of like broad thinking, and then if this is something that might be valuable for some of the programs that folks in this room are running, or if there are just ideas or other folks to kind of tag just to see if this works with their programs. So Allison, I don't know if you.
Hi, thank you. I just was thinking, I mean, it is a very limiting program, but it is a really interesting program as well. My first thought was I know that there's a need for a community closet for the children's center. They lost their closet, and that was something that was really important and that they're looking for. So I didn't know if it could somehow, I haven't really come up with anything specific and solid yet because they don't actually have a space, and the project has to be completed within 1 year of the contract. But it would be nice if they could have some support for a community closet or some type of project that sort of resembles that or could lead to that or something.
And I had responded that maybe pop-up or collaboration with rec or the senior center. The senior center also has their thrift store. So we could also reach out to the senior center about their programs.
Yeah, I was hoping that's obviously the thrift shop is obviously another great way to go. But I was hoping that I know Jennifer Whitehead was on that thread, and I was just hoping that she would maybe like chime back in. She's the one who I've been in contact with about the community closet. So I don't know if maybe it'd be great if we could all get together something and shoot out some ideas. But I mean, there are obviously other ideas that could be put on the table.
How would it work if you can't do anything with building a space? How is it going to help with the community closet?
I mean, basically, you'd be limited to probably it's program and education is kind of the focus. So it would, I think, be something kind of like a pop-up, maybe a recurring pop-up to kind of build that back up as a process potentially towards. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure on an exact project, like an actual focus of the project yet. It was just sort of like the beginning ideas to chat with other folks. I don't know that it's limited to education and outreach. I think it could be used for a lot of different things in terms of making sure that things are just reused, which is reuse is one of the options. So I just was kind of focusing on that. But for example, like a thrift shop last year got awarded $5,000 to buy a container so that they could store extra things in their thrift shop so that they could have more availability and people could drop it off more easily. So I mean, it's sort of going to require some creative thinking. I think I didn't get through that whole portion. I just wanted to throw out that it might be a good idea.
I have two ideas for that. One of them is the Belchertown Historical Association. We actually, this year is going to be the 25th year of the old bag sale. I started that fundraiser way back then, and at the time we were working with, it was considered a green project because it was recycling and reusing, and the bags, they're better if they get refurbished and buffed off or, whatever, the whole collection thing. But that is an amazing reuse, recycling thing. If you get in touch with, I think it's either Erica Morrison or, oh my God, I can see her in front of me, but I can't think of her name right now. Lives right down next to Parsons Field. Super active. It'll come to me. She's collecting bags.
I know Beth Goff is
Beth.
very involved.
Yes, Beth.
She's not Beth.
She's well, but
her ex is
yeah,
Beth. That's who Beth.
Sorry.
Yes.
They were together living
Yes,
in
Beth is very involved.
Small town. So that could be one thing, we could loop them in. So sure, she's 25 years of an honest to God green project. But the other thing, Cheryl is focusing on repair micro grant. Can we, like Pathfinder, even do like a lawnmower, snowblower tune-up kind of thing, if they were interested in getting a grant to do that kind of a thing? I don't,
Yeah, that would be great to pass it on to Pathfinder. So historic and Pathfinder, like historic specifically for bag sale. Yeah, those are great ideas. And they had mentioned, they had name checked food recovery projects as well. So I was thinking I would send it over to the Ag Commission folks.
Mm-hmm.
I've been actually
Ag
wondering
Commission
for
and
years why the
who runs our main food pantry in town? Is it BUCC? That who has one of, I think one of
They
the,
have one.
They have one. There's one there, yeah.
St. Francis has one.
St.
They
Francis
have
has one too.
And
Yeah.
so does Dwight.
We also have our 2 little free food pantries in town as well that
I
people
wonder
have
if it
put
could
up.
be used towards the food pantry.
Is that Owens?
We have two private food, not private, but they're public use, but citizens decided to put them up in town. We have one down on Bay Road and then one right at the center of town. So I wonder if there's any language around that on revamping those or doing something with that, an educational outreach type thing with that.
That's the doors are always falling off.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, and having a more permanent cooler for people to donate eggs.
Exactly. I always wanted to do a farm collection every year, but the problem was having a big enough cooler that was solid there, storage to put it in. But we have farmers that have excess. We have eggs. We have things that we'd have to work with health department on timing and everything. But that could be something. I just don't know. I haven't read this grant, so I just don't know the logistics of allowables. But
So they do materials program, outreach, education.
But we have those are funded by, those have been pretty much put on by private citizens, but they support the community.
Former selectman, one of them.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
familiar with he would be more familiar.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nick did that one. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, the one right here close in the center of town is very popular.
Yeah.
The other one gets on Pool.
Yeah, it's
Pool,
down. Yeah.
The next road over.
Yeah.
I mean, that one gets pretty good too. But the one on Woodhaven.
Corner of Woodhaven.
Yeah, that one is because it's right there. It's within walking distance from Lord Jeff and from people that live in town. So you
There's
can
a
get there
lot of
without a
rental
vehicle,
properties
and
right
yeah.
there.
Courtney and Nick would be good contacts to have some
Mhm.
conversation. We could send information over to Allison and who would be good contacts, and they know the individual who has the one on Pool Road as well. I just don't know who has to be the lead applicant on this grant specifically, that coverage of it, but
It's that part is pretty open.
okay.
Who is eligible to apply, what kind of entity.
Nice.
That's great. So I just am hearing that this is one that we just want to spread pretty broadly, just so that we can hope that someone locally will apply and receive this funding, and some of this funding comes to Belchertown. Is that accurate?
Should we be trying to do another meeting amongst, like, somebody from the family center, somebody involved with the food pantry, somebody involved at the historical society, and have a little meeting to figure out?
I don't think that we have the capacity to facilitate it. I think this is like, we can identify who this might benefit, but we can't write it. If we can support it in some way, if it has some tie-in with creative economy, I'd be happy to write a letter of support. I think that that's the kind of support we can offer. But I think coordinating it would be a little beyond.
I can talk to Mary Knight. She writes the grants. For Historic Association, she has written grants and stuff for them. And oddly enough, she was right the article on where the pantry is too.
Would this, Allison, would this be something in your purview to help kind of, if we feed some information to help connect with working with Maud and getting that kind of support out, or is this separate?
No, I think this is separate. So when it goes to community members and it's not municipal, it falls outside of like our kind of staffed capacities.
Okay.
Well, I would just like to throw in, I'd be happy to work with anybody on writing this grant. I'd actually been looking at it separately. I didn't know that, I think this brings up a whole nother question for me, like who gets to decide who applies and who makes the decisions and what have you, and how do we communicate about these things. I'd be happy to sort of facilitate, maybe not a bunch of meetings or anything, but people can maybe submit their ideas of something and I can let them know whether or not it fits really well within the program or not.
Thank you,
It's
Allison.
hard to say that. I mean, it's pretty much, any, the town can apply, or, an organization can apply, for profit or nonprofit. But it does make sense to make sure that it's an actual project that will fit within the actual scope of, the application. And I will say that one of the things that would definitely fit, other than the maybe some project with the community pantry, an expansion of food donation and storage and distribution. That's definitely one of the things that they fund for sure. I didn't hear any other things that really jumped out at me after I did run through it, but I didn't hear any other suggestions that jumped out at me so far that would be like a really good fit. So I don't know how I can be helpful to this group and how we can coordinate, but I'm happy to support.
Yeah, I would say, Allison, to your questions initially around like how this stuff gets distributed, it's really been pretty informal. It's just trying to kind of spread the word and identify and be like, could this be for you? Could this be for you? Could this be for you? For these kinds of one-off grants. For the one stop, we've been trying to like build up to coordinate a lot more formally. But because there are just so many grants to date, it's been pretty just like like that. Like if it's not for us, or even if it is for us, like how putting it out there to other folks who it might be relevant to as well.
Yeah, and I think that's where I come in, is that, I'm like, going over them and sort of figuring out like who might this apply to and where should it be sent out and all that stuff. So I can certainly support in those ways.
Fantastic. Okay, so it sounds like we all have some contacts who we can send this off to. This grant is, it's it's online. I would send it through the chat here, but I realize that there's only a couple of us who are in the thing. But I can send it as follow-up to this meeting. I can just send links for all of these. But another one that's coming up, that I do think that we should apply for is the Mass Cultural Council Creative Experiences Grant. Now, this is a new program that merges the former Festivals and Projects Grant with the school creative experiences program. So now all of them are in the same application together. And it has the same parameters roughly as both of those programs now just joined. And it's for either $2,500 or $5,000 for program support. And this is due at the end of the month, which is soon, but this is also a pretty straightforward application. So I wanted to, this one I'd like to get a decision tonight, and I pitched before, and I want to propose that we put in for Viewfinder for next year, so that we have some funding to put behind it. This year, about half of the funding is from the BCC, and about half of it is, well, roughly, there's 3 here, I think. So there's also some in-kind. So we have a few different sources. We have some in-kind from the camera folks who gave a discounted. There's a BCC grant, all of the technology and staffing from the library, and then Creative Economy ARPA funds. But we can't rely necessarily on all of those things for next year. I want to be able to keep running this program.
Well, it's not, I mean, are we having trouble getting people to sign up for it?
Well,
it's more than she needs a whole contest too. This is the whole,
okay,
not just the workshops, but this also involves the contest itself and then the putting up of the photography on the walls and things like that.
okay.
Yeah, and so we have, well, and you said that you haven't checked in a couple of days. Jennifer,
not the adult ones. I've checked the kids ones, but I have not checked the adults since Friday yet.
Okay.
Where are you checking? Like Facebook, the event, or is there
No,
a
the
place?
library has registration.
There's a because I'm just saying, oh, I'm interested. Do I have to sign up?
Yes, if people want to come to the workshops, they're supposed to register.
So Viewfinder as a program consists of workshops, and here's it's on the library's Art in the Library page. So you can read about the workshops, and there's the 2 workshops for kids, and then there's 3 for adults, and it's a free registration. And so you can click through one of these, and then you get more details and the registration link here to sign up. And so all of this material is here, and they can read about all of the workshop leaders. It is followed by a contest, which is also open. And there's going to be library staff support for making submissions on a few days, which is really exciting, especially for children who don't have parental support to do stuff like that. For low income folks who may not have ready access outside of the library. And then that competition results in an exhibition of awardee photos that goes on throughout July, and it's opening on Tuesday, July 1st. So, and we got a delayed post about this in the Sentinel just last Thursday. And we've been pushing pretty hard on socials. And I sent it again to the Gazette, like, get it in there. So we've been trying to promote this, and I know, Lake Wallace, the posters are up at Lake Wallace, which is hosting several of these. So we're trying to push on this, and especially with family groups, homeschool groups, right? Youth kind of groups, environmental birding groups. So we've been trying to do outreach through a number of different partners.
And the Quabbin photography, I think, has been pushing it quite a bit for us also. And teens can go to any of them. Younger teens might feel more comfortable coming to the ones that are kind of geared towards kids, and older teens might feel more comfortable going to the ones that are towards adults, but they're more than welcome to do either.
Question for BCC. Are you going for this at all to support food trucks or anything?
That's what I was
Because
gonna ask.
typically the old version of this grant used to support Winter Light Night and food trucks, because it used to be twice a year.
No.
That you've heard of? Okay, just
No,
thinking
we
of
brought it up.
cross-departmental.
Yeah, we
Okay.
brought up food trucks and didn't think that there was a pressing need for additional funds.
that's awesome.
And we were going to apply on behalf of Sugarfest because we thought, I don't know, we're not good at reading grants, but we thought that they could not apply on their own because they're a for-profit, but it turns out they can.
Okay.
So we're pushing them and supporting them to apply for
Okay,
Sugarfest.
so they'll be applying on their own. Okay.
So even Winter Light Night, because that's been supported for years through this grant, so that's not
I don't think.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think recently it hasn't been.
Okay.
There's just a lot of
I
donations.
just remember that was
Yeah.
the grant
Yeah.
that we when I was on BCC did twice a year every year, and
Oh,
then I kind
really?
of kept those
Right, yeah, that
programs
was gonna be
going.
my question too,
Yeah.
is to see if
Okay.
Yeah,
if
no,
more than
I.
one from the community can apply.
Yeah, that was my big question, if more than one project can apply for this.
And private. I can talk to you about.
Which it should be fine if a couple private entities within the town go and a municipal. They usually give these, they spread these ones out pretty easily because they're so small. Yeah. BCA used to go at the same time as like BCC would go, and some other artists in town would also take advantage of this. Yeah.
Because adults want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody else.
Okay.
But it went over so amazing.
And I'll say from the BCA standpoint, that's not on a radar for going for this, for a nonprofit standpoint this year. I don't know if QAA is going for any funding.
I don't think much.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Will you say that again?
Just saying BCA as a nonprofit is not going for any application for this one this year. I have not heard anything from QAA. I think they'd be the only other group in town that would go for the same grant, just thinking multiple applications in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the concern would be more like around BCC or another kind of municipal tied-in entity.
Yeah, which if you're not, that's, if Sugar Shack's doing their own, then that's great. Any discussion on it? Any other thoughts on things that would be a focus for this grant, or if it would be still going towards the Wayfinder? I know we've discussed kind of having that end of year more like festival to celebrate the sculpture work, to celebrate the bench, to celebrate those things, but that's a next FY. This would be a next year's FY funding from usually how those go.
I think Viewfinder is a really good fit.
Yeah. It's been a continuing program.
I just want to put it out there that the library is planning to submit one for a piano series.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
want to be competitive.
Yeah.
But you'd still be a core partner on this, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait. Yeah.
Please don't worry.
And that's also allowable from the MCC, is like a partner can put in their own application for their own things too.
Okay.
It's pretty flexible.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was my concern, was that like if we did Viewfinder, the library's still going to be part of Viewfinder. So
Yeah. Yeah. This one has always been super flexible.
Maud, can you send the link out for that one too?
Yeah.
Along with the reuse one?
I'll send the links for all of these after the meeting. So I would be looking for a decision tonight on which direction we want to go with this grant.
Do we vote or like?
I think we can take an official vote of if so this is we as a creative economy committee would be then voting to apply as a committee for the MCC grant funding to support Viewfinder. Do you want an amount, Maud? I could say up to the $5,000 amount. Do you feel as though it'll be that? Okay, so we can put language of up to the $5,000 amount to support the FY26 Viewfinder program. If that's how we kind of, I don't know how detailed we want to get, but Okay, so I can make, is there any discussion, kind of thoughts on other uses of this money, or do we feel comfortable having a vote for it to go to Viewfinder?
I don't know. I wish we had more time to discuss it. There's
Okay.
other ideas and everything else. This doesn't, it seems like quite rushed and uninformed.
Well, do you want to discuss these? Do you want to discuss these other grant programs first? Because there's also the One Stop and the Expanding Massachusetts Stories as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so the One Stop programs, we as a committee ended up submitting 4 EOIs. One of which Allison submitted on, well, we submitted all of them. I wrote 3 of them. Allison, I believe you were the one who wrote the 4th one, but we had one that was the market study. Then we had one that was the cottage business stall zoning revision. Another that was an economic development action plan. And the last one was a signage bylaw revision. And the expression of interest feedback for the cottage business stall zoning revision was they thought that fit best with the Mass Downtown Initiative, which is the grant that we got to support wayfinding this year. And we'll close that out by about like end of this fiscal, so it wouldn't overlap. I think that wouldn't be a problem, but for any of these, we'd follow up with the program officers. So I would follow up with Emmy Hahn. The Belchertown Economic Development Action Plan, they said could fall, they suggested best aligns with community planning, could also be eligible under Rural Development Fund or Housing Choice Community funding. And then the third one, the Belchertown Signage Bylaw Revision, they also suggested the Mass Downtown Initiative. So we can only do one. That would be Mass Downtown Initiative, or one at a time, I guess. And I don't know, Allison, did you have the expression of interest for that market study?
Hi, actually, I didn't get a response on the market study. When I submitted the EOI, I submitted it for not really a downtown market study, more of a generalized market study, which I imagine would have gone under community planning. But if it was to be basically just downtown market study, then you'd be looking at the MDI, the Mass Downtown Initiative.
Oh, that is weird that you didn't hear back from them.
Yeah, apparently there are a few people. I was on a couple of calls this week, and there are a few. It was probably because it was like last minute, I'm guessing. But I haven't reached out to them yet based on the fact that it seems obvious that it would either be MDI or community planning based on how widespread the study will go.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, mind you,
Are any of these
probably
grants
would
dependent
also
on
fall
federal
under
funding?
These are Massachusetts grants.
I know, but are they getting the money from the feds? It's all their own?
So if you didn't hear Cheryl asked, are these grants dependent on federal funding? These ones specifically are allocated through Massachusetts funding. So these ones have already been allocated from Massachusetts funding in partnership with Mass Development. It's a mixture of different Massachusetts offices that control these grant funds. So the way that the One Stop grant typically works is the allocation happens, funding is set aside, and then grant
Right.
requests go out. Yeah, so
But I
these
just
should
wanted
be,
to be sure
yep.
it's not dependent on
these should be,
Massachusetts getting
these should be
federal
safe.
funds.
Yeah. Yeah, these should be in that lump of mass controlled funding. Yeah.
So, and I'll just add to this signage bylaw revision is that when the Stantec folks were here doing their stakeholder meetings, we discussed that we put this in, and they said that they could also begin to take a peek and start to kind of help inform that as well as a part of their process. So that was really helpful to hear too.
And I'll also say, depending on town priorities, there is technical assistance through, I don't do it, so I can say it's not a conflict for me to talk about with PVPC, that we get annual technical assistance being part of that, and things like bylaws and everything they look at sometimes. They look at open space plans, they look at rec plans, so there's folding in with what Stantec is doing as well, outside of grant funding, just so we have other options and avenues, and yeah.
Okay, so if we don't move forward with the signage bylaws and instead prioritize something else for MDI, then we might be able to go to PVPC for the signage bylaw revision.
In a sense, it has to be a town priority, clearly, so that's a Steve conversation, but it is one of the things that I know Belchertown has access to.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, looking at the signage bylaws revision as we are finishing a wayfinding program is a nice flow.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think there's an issue more important to the business people in this town than the signage bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing that out there. The town is in desperate need of businesses, and the signage bylaw has been a stumbling block for every business in this town. And like currently, our signs, like if we wanted to have in the center of the town, any directional sign that pointed to like Austin Brothers Farm, we can't do that.
Yeah. And I know, and I think this might be, I wish that there could be possibly a way to kind of combine these, because I think looking at those other access points of, we do have a lot of farm stands in town. We do have a lot of we see some of our makers, Cold Spring Soapery is just opened one. One of my down the street from me, I have a candle maker who is creating a little front. When I was doing my cake business, that was one of my thoughts of how can I do a little front place on my property. So I'm wondering if there's a way. I feel like this might be a bigger conversation that a representative might need to bring up to the planning board, and this might. I think we would have to involve I don't know, I might be speaking out of turn and I'll get opinions, but we might have to involve planning board in this discussion because they are part of that piece of our government. But I think it would be a great economic piece of what we're doing here.
It's huge, and Doug,
and
my
Doug,
first meeting, Doug said it was our job to do both. So when I went and met with Paul, Paul Asma, yes, awesome. About the two things, about the, cottage kind of, or the artisan sheds, affording artists the same opportunity as farm stands, not having to get building permits and bathrooms, and stuff like that. But Paul and I sat and went over the signage bylaws, looking at everything, talking about the wayfinding, and I just encourage everybody to go read our signage bylaws. I always tell my kids, when you get a text, if it has attitude, change yours and read it again. Because words don't have it. But it just is so, our goal is to prevent a blight on our town, visual blight. They actually use that in referencing people's business signs. And I was like, let's get that out of there as a intro. But there's just seems like some of the things we want to do, we can't do because of our zoning change bylaws, and those can only be changed at annual meeting.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would be a good transition because we're going to have this beautiful wayfinding packet. Yeah. I know when I attended the one-stop meeting, and there was big backing and large conversation within the room, really supporting a market study. Really supporting of looking at a market study, looking at, and it could be multi-fold. Like there was some conversation of higher level thinking of like, how do we attract a hotel? How do we attract things like that? But also it can be all encompassing of, okay, how do we support and attract our artisans? How do we the artists and things. So that had huge backing too. And I think that would fall within what our name is here, big time.
So we're saying write a one-stop grant for a marketing study to get at this broader issue, how to attract and support artisans,
To
including things like
support
changing
it.
bylaws.
I think we've got two separate, I think that would be an Allison conversation too of coordinating all of the different grants people are going for, but we have two separate pieces here that really would fall under. I would 100% be part of a subcommittee, it's what I do, to be part of, if we thought a subcommittee or something like that to do working group, however, what the language would be best folded in language for that under the town rules and laws. To have creative economy be the backing to
Right.
those pieces.
I think Paul thought that the artisan sheds could be, because there is a farm stands are included. He
Yeah.
just talked to the select board and put and artisan
Yeah.
sheds.
Yeah.
That it's gonna, that would be like the easiest
Yeah.
of the fix, but the signage
Yeah.
bylaw, that's gonna be
And
huge.
essentially, like for this, you'd have to get, I could see this as a successful grant application from the town, because we are the town. The town, at the end of the day, the town is pressing the button. We are supporting and backing the development of this. It would essentially be, okay, can we get a support letter from Doug as the planner, the town planner, to back this? The planning committee can help, they help do that. You get support letter from the Department of Health. They would be a piece of this when it comes to artisan stands and that. Yeah, pending all priorities, I would totally say we as a creative economy vote that. How do you see this happening, Maud? Do you see us saying like, we agree that this should be considered as a priority for the town's applications?
Yeah, I mean, because there may be like a little bit of, I don't know, like horse trading, because there's only one per grant program, right? So, and I also, I don't know, Allison, if you have the stats on like what programs are currently open too. So like if the Lake Wallace one hasn't been spent down fully yet, whatever program that was under, we wouldn't be eligible for either. So there's a little bit of like things to figure out around that. But what I'm hearing is that maybe the artisan shed, cottage business, however we kind of like frame that to be the most open and kind of framework, could be something that we could work out internally with maybe the planning department and then just go to the select board. And if that's possible, I think that we should prioritize the signage bylaw for the MDI, and then the market study as a bigger market study under community planning. Just be like, those are the two that we do, and then the third one we support in a collaboration with planning. I'm just kind of like, this is what I'm hearing, but.
Yeah, because even the signage bylaw, our bylaw is not even kept up with technology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But just like as an
Yeah.
example.
I think
like,
getting support to help redo that would be
Right.
huge. Yep.
When we talk about the marketing study, are we saying marketing study for the town overall, or marketing study specifically with respect to supporting the creative economy in particular?
So it's a Marquette study, right? Yeah.
Yeah, market study, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, is it like town writ large, hotels and other attractions and things, or could it just be focused on digging deeply into this creative economy landscape?
I think we'd have to talk with Doug as the planner, talk with the select board, Steve, because there was big want in that. And I think that it does coalesce with one another, because we have to show our creative economy statistics and we have to show our economic statistics to then attract any business. So it's almost, we need to get the landscape of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue.
To then go, because we don't want to necessarily just focus on let's highlight what we need to attract this group. It would really be, okay, what's our landscape? Because we don't even know our full landscape right now. We don't know it because we've changed so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would be broader than creative economy. It's just that creative economy is just currently situated as like an engine for that, but more like how to initiate economic development kind of in a larger sense.
And we'd be a piece of that. So I think we'd be like a piece of supporting a larger community plan scope.
And I think the
Market study, yeah.
community would
Yeah.
support that
Yeah.
hugely.
Because we did say in our bylaws, the agricultural arm is under our bylaws, and here are our statement, and here our small
Yes.
businesses are here, the artists are here. So we're kind of like, okay, what is that market study for here? How do we support those and highlight those while looking at the overall economic development? Because that's how, like, highlighting our recreation, highlighting all of that, that's how we're going to be able to say, okay, this many people per capita come through town to visit these locations. This many artists in town have these vote, like, that's how we're gonna get those pieces, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, not knowing much about market
Yeah.
studies for towns like this, I'm just, my gut feeling is it's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
And I'd be concerned that
If we
the
need
property
to-
case would just get like,
Yeah.
some little paragraph on the side
Yeah.
and many, many other things.
Yeah.
And I could highlight that. And I know there's a lot of important issues to talk about with respect to market study, but this is an emerging area.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity to, as someone said earlier, like create an environment that attracts and supports artists here in a way that other towns don't.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we should be, as we've seen, and our Maud can attest to this, because Maud's been doing the work for 2 years now almost, and
Almost exactly. Actually, 2 years, 2 days ago.
I don't want to remember that, no. But I think we've been so successful in recent years with our grant applications because we've been highlighting the creative development work we've been doing in town. Like, that's how we've been getting really big success in a lot of grant applications. So I think this, and I know creative economy is like a buzzword with this, but I think the more studies are coming out showing that if you have a thriving creative cultural economy in your location, you also have a thriving economic economy building around that. So, yeah.
So it would be something, the point is it would be central
Yeah.
to any kind of market study
Yeah.
we're talking about.
And I think that, again, like we said, we'd have to partner with planning a bit. We'd be partnering with planning and the select board really to focus, say, okay, we're going to help take the charge on this and really.
Yeah.
And they
Push
will
that.
be all for
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
They will be all over that.
Because they want to attract some
And
type of tax revenue from
Plus, they want to
these.
let
Yeah.
the community know that
Yeah.
they're doing it, because the
Yeah.
community doesn't see.
Yeah. This would be a big piece to let's see what all of this is actually kind of
I
doing.
think it's huge.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. Even, like I said, even getting it out, letting the community know that this is,
Yeah.
how many times have we heard in the last, all the meetings lately, what's your plan? What's
Exactly.
your plan? What's
So-
your plan?
And this is bigger than just a community development plan. We have community plans. We have those. I help but this is different. This is an actual market study that you can utilize to attract artists, to attract art, to attract people to invest in your location and support those who are already investing in it. Yeah. Did anyone write that down to put in the grant now? Being recorded.
Yeah, we have the recording.
Yeah, here's the writing.
It's all recorded, yeah.
Yeah. And I think signage bylaws, it's not going to be easy, but that's kind of a win to just be like, hey, here's
Well,
something the creative
Just being
economy
friendly to
Yeah.
businesses.
I think it bringing them in is going, but I think it's wanted. It's wanted by everyone.
Oh yeah.
Everyone. So
I want to
there- we
attend
won't
those
have- there won't
community
be any
outreach
dissenters, like,
sessions.
I don't want you to focus on the signage bylaw. Everybody does, so.
That was easy enough. Did we just come to conclusions?
Well, I think we have like a provisional idea with that. I think in the spirit of like, let's let these marinate for a second. Maybe I can this last one here is expanding Massachusetts stories. And these, there's more. These are just ones that are coming up in the next couple of months.
Can I just, Maud, do you mind if I just say one thing?
Sure.
I'm organizing a one-stop follow-up meeting for next week. I've just done some preliminary availability for this week. And if anybody hasn't been on the list from the last meeting that would like to attend that, it's going to be a follow-up meeting to discuss which projects are actually going to move forward. It would be great to have as much of creative economy representation as necessary. So if anybody that wasn't on the list last time wants to attend, just send me an email and I'll reach out to you for your availability, trying to make it so that as many people can attend as possible.
Allison's email on ours. Allison, is your email in our group thing that we just,
I can send it out.
you're gonna send it to me? Okay.
Sarah.
I have availability and I'd like, well, I don't know when, but now that I'm in my 6th week of retirement. Like, you know, those early pregnancy where you're just doing it by the weeks, you know?
Okay, so Expanding Massachusetts Stories is from Mass Humanities. This one opened recently, and this deadline of June 9th is not the full application. This is the letter of interest. The full application is if you get an invite to apply after your letter is in the fall, and programming doesn't begin until the calendar year 2026. So this is a further off program, and given the changes that have been happening, there's a couple of things to note about this. One is that when Mass Humanities released it, they made a last minute theme change to have more focus on like the revolution and basically like Mass 250 stuff, in alignment with other like America 250, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They also received like a week and a few days ago a termination of funding from this year funding from the feds. So I have no idea. They're publicly saying that this program is committed, and it's going, but I don't know if they're going to reduce the number of awardees or what, because they are actively also soliciting donations to fill the gap. So I just wanted to note those two things. But this program is, it's from Mass Humanities. It's around telling more of the stories that don't get told about the Commonwealth, and from different perspectives than those that show up in the history books. So it's a lot of like oral history projects or humanities in place, or public programming talks, immersive kind of like getting into the spirit of a particular moment. They also welcome some programs that kind of thematically tie in with the idea of revolution and freedom. So I think that was, they took a little bit of like, yes, we'll take your 250 and we'll like make it slant, right? So there's some opportunity to potentially kind of consider that. Before that theme kind of update came out, I was thinking, oh, maybe because the NEH is getting gutted, and the programs that we were looking at there, and the NEA has shifted and pulled back, and those were where we were looking at other funding sources for the Belchertown history trails. I thought maybe this could be potentially that. I wish Jill was here tonight to speak on that. That's a program from the Historic Commission, and that we thought would be a tie-in program and part of the interpretive signage pillar of wayfinding, that there would be an opportunity to take this interpretive template for the history trail. But I don't know, I'm just putting that out there, but I don't know, and I don't know what folks' capacities are either, but I just want to put this grant program out there again in the spirit of where's the best fit for this. It would be a shame if no one in Belchertown applied, even if it's not the municipality. Maybe there's another entity.
Yeah,
The best fit is the Historical Association, far better than even the walking trail. There isn't really, we were primarily hunting grounds during the Revolutionary period, but and then Cliff McCarthy would be the one with the access to know which box the information is in. Although very well organized. I can tell you what box to find it in. I just don't know where the box is. But if you're going to send that link amongst all of those other links out, I can certainly get it to them.
Yeah, great. And I am imagining maybe like Dwight Day. I mean, this is a $20,000 grant, so this is like a bigger program.
Did you, back in the heyday with the Belchertown Historical, Commission, there was like monthly presentations, not commission, the association, big difference. But, bringing the speakers in to talk about the whole process, about, did you all know that Chauncey Walker was the youngest drummer boy in the war? That's how that street got that name, because they're from here. Daniel, there's just a variety of different things, about, the cottage industries that were here. The information they have on the cottage industries, in particular, the weaving and stuff. There was a special tree right across the street from the stone house. But I mean, there was all really fascinating things in there. But I'm talking about 30 years ago. Nobody, this town has changed. And so that whole historical piece is there, but the talks were fascinating.
Well, the library is hosting talks. Cliff talked a few times this last year, and so did Kate Anderson about the state school history. I mean, maybe.
Would this be a library grant?
Yeah.
Would reenactments fall underneath this? Because it's been a long time since the Stonehouse has done that. But man, those were really.
They were a lot of work. They were a lot of work.
But with this kind of money, it might not be as much work.
Yeah.
This kind of money, it might not be as much work, because here's the thing, the Civil War reenactors, which we used all those years, they're free. Those guys do that as a hobby. They're like fascinated by it. The Revolutionary War reenactors are paid.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. That's why we went with the Civil War. And at the time, I could fit into a hoop skirt. I don't think I can right now. But
it just depends which level.
But we still have all the contacts. I've got Karen is a friend of mine with all the contacts there to do that. I can even Liz Terrace did all the marketing and sponsoring packets, and she has.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're throwing a reenactment with this grant.
It would be amazing. And we always.
It's probably been 20 years.
It's at least been 20 years.
I know my sons were there. So.
Yeah, and it would be really awesome for it to be the Revolutionary War. I mean, we always had to do the Civil War because it was free.
Yeah.
But I always thought common in Massachusetts should be about the Revolutionary War and not, the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that it was Mott, the Travel and Tourism Office, had the Mass 250 grant last year that I definitely sent their way. And hopefully this has more lead time. I know that one came up really quickly. Mm-hmm. Maybe that will make a difference for this. That would be great. Yeah. So I'll include this in there. Is there any program that would be kind of this group? I'm not hearing one. Okay. Well, I will send it to Historical Commission again. But it sounds like Historical Association, maybe for library to chew on, Belchertown State School Friends, there's a few entities and perhaps in coordination. Okay. So, because the one-stop ones, even though the deadline is June 4th, they're monsters, and we're going to be collaborating with a lot of people. I think it would be wise to pin down what our priority is for those. The MCC grant as well, I would love to pin down tonight. Otherwise, we just miss out on it.
I mean, it sounded like our one-stop discussion was pretty good.
Yeah, so we had talked about MDI, the Mass Downtown Initiative to go for a signage bylaw revision.
Yep.
For community planning to go for a market study that was broad enough, that was like a broader economic development, but with a real, like, had some meat, particularly around creative economy.
Mhm.
And then to kind of, outside of the one stop, internally collaborate with planning and the select board around Artisan shed zoning.
Yeah.
And then the economic action plan, wasn't there a fourth one?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that could be, maybe that's a next year application, and having the market study material could bolster that application.
We're gonna need that first.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for the reduce, reuse, repair, you're hoping for a view for us to be able to vote tonight to say that we can go for the viewfinder next year funding.
No, that's
For
the
the
creative.
Sorry, the creative experience. Thank you. Going backwards. Sorry, jumping around. Creative experience.
For the one stop, so if you can only put in one, like, are there others in town that want to apply for this? So this would just be saying what our committee would want to do,
Yeah.
and then that goes back to this one stop
Yeah.
meeting, and then
Yeah.
the town chooses among those all of the
Yes.
priorities to what gets furthered.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
Within each category. So there's lots of
Yeah.
categories. We can submit all the ones we just talked about, or I
Yeah.
guess there's two.
I think ultimately it has to be, I don't know if the select board would have to officially vote on us going forward, but I think it would just have to be agreed upon to say, okay, well, we're not competing with each other. These are the grants the town is going to spend. Yeah. I think in years past, that's how it's gone. So essentially tonight, we would just be saying, like, the one that we have to vote on is the viewfinder, because that's a solid, yes, that needs to happen.
And the one stop is like, these are the ones that we are pitching as like priorities to kind of move forward, but knowing that it goes up to the whole group.
Yeah. And then I don't know if we'd want to do any I know we have a lot of working groups that come in and come out. I don't know if we'd want to kind of say, okay, are there any hand raises to say that we will focus on this on the in-between time to then come back to the group with some solid, like, here's the to-dos we need to do before the next meeting? Because I think if we wait till the next meeting, that's going to get a little bit of a tight timeline, because that's only a month by our next meeting, less than a month. So I think we need to have some research done in between there.
That sounds wise. My hope is as well that you mentioned that there was a lot of enthusiasm in the room.
Oh, major.
So we'll have to, like, make good on that enthusiasm with contributed collaboration.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't we do one thing at a time? Are we ready to vote to approve Viewfinder for for this year's Creative Experiences funding, knowing that we have a deadline of April 30th and it's a short timeline this year?
Who is like hands-on keyboard for that? Like, who is doing that? Is it literally one of us? It's Maud. Okay.
Right now it would be Maud.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like our group. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel good about voting on that.
I'd be okay with that for this year. Okay. I make a motion to approve applying for the MCC Creative Experiences grant to support the Viewfinder program for the FY26 year up to $5,000. Okay. All in favor?
Hold on,
Sorry, I know that was a lot. I was going to say, do you need me to? That was a lot.
To approve applying for the MCC Creative Experiences grant to support the Viewfinder program for FY26.
Yep, up to $5,000. Like, we have to make it a specific, but open.
Maud, it says
And then you
2,500, 5,000. Do you have to apply for one or another? Or
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll, in the process, so we have, some established partners in that program already. So we can kind of build out the budget in the interim. We'll have to build out the budget in the interim and identify what contributions we might have otherwise, what other grants we might go after, and whether or not 2,500 is appropriate or 5,000. Like this year, it was a bigger budget because there was an investment in buying these camera kits, which is huge. And I think, there might need to be some like replacements for damage or loss. I don't know. So we might want to build that in.
Yeah. All right. So all in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed? All abstain? Beautiful. Motion passes. Okay. Thoughts? Do we need a formal? Yeah. So, okay. I'll volunteer to be on a subcommittee to continue to talk about One Stop. If anyone else has capacity, great. I know we have a couple members not here right now. I know Maud's going to be at least for a little longer helping with that. Okay. And Allison is on the town support for that. So, okay. All right. Let me think of this motion now. So I make a motion to propose the MDI signage bylaw and going slower for Cindy,
No, good,
sorry.
good.
Okay, and the community planning for a market study to the select board and One Stop Town, or to the One Stop Town group. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that, and stakeholders, thank you, stakeholders, that works. Okay. And that, Sarah will attend if able the next One Stop meeting and report back. I don't think that has to be in the full motion, but
okay.
Sarah will take on, that's a separate, but okay. Can I get a second? We got there, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Maybe, no. Okay, any abstain? All right, good. So that roundabout, I think we covered our grounds with that. So I will say my to-do is I'll attend the meeting and then bring back to-dos because I'm already researching One Stop anyways right now for stuff. So that won't be a huge extra lift. Okay, that was great. We did that. Poof. Cultural district manager update.
All right.
Thank you. No, thank you, Lauren. 1,
Um,
2, 3, 4, 5. We still have quorum.
you're good?
Yeah. I know, these will get hefty.
In March, I attended the MOT conference in Springfield with Kate, communications manager. And there was big conversation about agritourism, farm to table, accessible recreational opportunities for all populations. Also about the World Cup coming to Boston in 2026, which is the biggest global sporting event that happens.
How did I not know about that?
Yeah, Gillette
Men's
Stadium.
That's insane.
Men's World Cup, yep. Gillette Stadium is getting 7 games, which is huge. And also, I could talk more about that if you guys want, but there was also a big push for Mass 250. And they were very clear that if your town or community is doing anything related to Mass 250, that they want to promote it. So I didn't know if we were doing anything for it. So
A
reenactment
now.
I'll check with. Yeah. So if you hear of anything or know of anybody who does this sort of historical, representational, whatever, let me know, because they gave us the resources to submit to them. They'll advertise. So,
Does the Lafayette reenactment visit thing count? Everybody's looking at me.
I'm not a history person.
I'm not either.
I don't
didn't
know.
hear you. Nothing.
So Lafayette's grand tour, he came to Belchertown, among other places, and so it's the whatever anniversary of his grand tour, and so he's coming back. He's not coming back, sorry.
Right.
Reenactors coming back to portray that, and then I think they're having so the mythology is that little Susie Bridgman like waved to him, and the choir people sang and everything, and so they're anyway. I don't know if that's on topic or not, because it was. I mean, it's technically he was his grand tour, which was after the revolution, but he was a revolutionary war figure, so I don't know how that plays in. But anyway, that's happening.
Well, if you have the information, just to send it off to me, and then I can submit it to their Mass 250 website, and they'll promote the event on their website.
And who's doing that? Is the library doing that?
No,
The Lafayette, or?
Cliff is part of the group Cliff McCarthy is part of the group that's heading that up.
So but it's not coming from the Historical Association. It's
I
something
assumed
different?
it was, but
You assumed it was,
I
okay.
assumed it was, but I don't know for sure. He was just talking about the library's doing a book display on Lafayette that week, but that was all we could. There's a whole exhibit piece that we could get, but we don't have room for they're giant panels, so we couldn't take that. So we're only doing a very small piece of it. But yeah, they're doing he's going through. He's like a famous Lafayette interpreter, reenactor rather. So he's going from Northampton to.
He's doing the tour.
Yeah,
he's covering the ground.
Interesting.
That's good. I think touch base with the Historical Association and stuff like that.
But that's this June. It's
coming up.
I know.
Yeah. So if you hear anything, just let me know, and I'll submit it to their events page. The other piece of the conference too was talking about travel trends in 2025 and 2026, and a lot of it is focused on outdoor recreation. So thinking, how can we capitalize on what we already have here in town, and make it, marketable, so people know what we have exists. So as a follow-up to this, we had a meeting, I think it was last week. It was myself, Kate, Maud, Jen, Doug, and Esther, so we could kind of dump everything and bring it to a larger group and brainstorm about where we can actually go, so something actually happens from it. And so we did our brain dump, and now we're having a following meeting to discuss what possible path we might take with all this information. The other really cool piece was that I made a connection with the editor from Yankee Magazine, and they love coming out to different locations and learning about history and writing up little stories. So Kate and I were both like, Lacey Rose, Black Library, thinking about all the resorts that we used to have in Belchertown. So really thinking about how we can develop a pitch.
Yeah, the Amherst Chamber organized something exactly like that in Amherst recently.
So we should touch base with
He
Jacob.
might have an
And we
idea.
have a lot of agricultural firsts
Well,
here,
yes.
and
So they invented the fancy here.
Howard 19 strawberry.
I was gonna
Howard
say the
Banks
strawberry.
strawberries.
I learned about the strawberry from you.
Howard Star Petunia.
Right, okay.
People Howard Star Petunia, and they don't even know. So the petunias that you get that are white and purple.
Oh yeah, I heard.
I didn't know these were from
Street.
here.
Same Howard. And then how about we got Pansy Park, but like the giant lily pads, like that people could stand on. I mean, that's how big they were, and everything else. Really fascinating. Cliff has all of this information too, but there's a very rich one of a kind, like between, like you said, the strawberry, petunia, Pansy Park,
a list
and
of
the other
firsts,
things.
basically, like
Yeah.
first
But
in Belchertown.
especially, when you're talking, because I have been thinking of a way to, how the farmers market sometimes has their community table there, for different things. They had the awareness time. I was always wondering if to just put that out there. I think maybe, I don't know, it's like, probably pandemic changes everything, but it might have been 3 or 4 years ago that I just put that thing out there about the star petunia. My God, it was like 98 comments in 2 hours. People are like, what? What? Here?
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, trying to be thoughtful in the direction that we're going, and really try to take advantage of the information that we learned and how we can, continue to promote what we're doing here in town. Also, Jen and I visited Launch Space out in Orange. I don't know if anybody is
With
ever.
Brianna. Oh my God, I was like obsessing over her.
Yes, in the Orange Innovation Center. It's a maker space. It's unbelievable. So that was really inspiring. And for me, is hearing Jen's ideas of everything that she would love to see in Tagil, and then actually seeing a space like Launch Space, it really, and now having been in Tagil myself twice, seeing the connection, it really makes you go, oh, wow, there is a lot of potential.
about that.
Yeah. So, and then they're building a satellite location in Athol using an old school that is no longer functioning. And it's like a commercial kitchen. They're doing childcare there, business incubation. So really, it's all the things that we have heard from community members that they would love to see here. Brianna is the CEO of Launch Space, has been so generous with her time, and she invited us to bring others back out there to do a larger tour of stakeholders in the community who might be interested in something like this. So that's something that will work. We want to be respectful of the time that she's already given us, and so we're not going to do it too soon. Give her a little space in between. So that's something that we're also working on. Met with folks from the YMCA and the Ludlow Boys and Girls Club about potential partnerships, because the need for childcare before school, after school, has been a big thing in the community, and just trying to see what we can do, to try to meet those needs. So those are really promising continuing conversations that we've been having. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that I think it was on Friday, Kate, Steve, Jen, Allegra, and Emily from the communications committee met, and we talked about kind of the social media parameters that we've have, and kind of what can be posted on our town social media channels, what can't be, how other towns are doing it. So that's a conversation, again, that is ongoing and continuing, and Kate and I are reaching out to other towns that we've kind of identified as having a good system. Greenfield, Turner's Falls, Montague, South Hadley's town website is really informative. Just the way they have it set up is very easy to read, and just asking them kind of what their policies are, so we can kind of look and see what's going, because posting, I have had a learning curve for sure about posting on the creative economy page, what gets posted, who gets posted, what's allowed, what's not allowed. I feel like I've kind of hit a groove and I'm feeling okay about things right now, but it's, if we had something in black and white that says this is what's okay, this is what's not okay, it would be really helpful moving forward. And a really interesting thing, this I got really excited, is Emily's been doing such great work for the rec department recently, and so I asked, have you noticed a difference in registration numbers or site activity? And Kate looked, and I want to say within the last 28 days, their visitorship has gone up to like 28,000.
Awesome.
The town was around 70,000. Creative economy page was just under 18,000. So it just goes to show that this is, it's working, it's getting the word out, and hopefully people are understanding and seeing everything that we really do offer here in town. So that's exciting. And one other piece I want to get through real quick. BCTV is doing a series on the community gardens in town. They're going to be doing a series in now and in the summer and fall about how the gardens get ready, what happens during the season, and then how they get ready for bed, in the winter, so to speak. And what I'm really excited about, particularly with this project, is that she's going to be bringing in the different touch points in the community that the garden reaches. So the schools, their kitchen, because Chestnut Hill uses what the kids harvest in the gardens at Swift River, and they use it in the kitchens at Chestnut Hill. And over the summer, they bring the what has grown over the summer to the senior center. So they're working on that as well. So that's exciting.
That's awesome.
Does that include like the Small Farms Institute gardens too?
Yeah, Charlotte's reached out to Pat. I don't know.
Okay.
But yes, so it would be
McPherson?
I
know it's not vegetables, but
Yeah.
it's still a historical garden in town.
Yes, it is. So Charlotte has reached out to all of the
Okay.
different people.
Got it.
So it's up to them if they want to, participate. So it's the community garden at New England Small Farm Institute would be McPherson, the garden at Swift River, and the pollinator garden.
Nice. That's exciting.
It is. It'll be great.
It's all coming back. It's like BCTV's reinvigorating.
Yeah.
We've got,
Mhm.
we've definitely expanded kind of our communications.
Yeah, and I
That's
think a
amazing.
big piece of that series too is to highlight all of the work that
that's
these
awesome.
volunteers are doing. A lot of it is self-funded.
Yeah.
And just how it's a community space and it takes the community to elevate it.
When I think having a more active BCTV YouTube page now is huge because nobody I don't go on my TV anymore. I've
Yeah.
watched everything on the YouTube page now. So that's really big.
And they live on forever to be able, if you want to share it with whatever grant application.
It's such a good time to have.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, just with the angst on the
Awesome
other
that
side
we
of
have it
town.
so-
It's just so
yeah,
awesome,
this
but
is
the
good.
timing is just kind of.
That's
perfect
really good.
For elevating just
Yeah.
the things that people love about
Mm-hmm.
being here.
Yeah, and a piece of it too, I feel like, is making people aware that we are one community and that we have to work together and that there are so many different pieces that if one is struggling or not working, then it impacts, the next.
Yeah.
So we all have to work together to build the community up to what it truly should be.
Well, and I have had experience working in a town where the just all of the town entities were just at each other's throats because there just wasn't enough to go around.
Yeah.
That's so toxic.
Yeah.
And that's I hear that a lot. People don't want to see Belchertown going in that direction, and so this is
That was, I don't mean to get off topic, but just what you just said right there, that was one of my primary goals, like when I first, for example, with the coloring book. It was
that.
the
Yeah.
parents,
I still have them.
so both editions?
Yeah.
So the parents, kids asking questions, parents didn't know, everybody was new here, I said, oh, the senior.
Yeah.
But it was a joint effort, we split the profits from the coloring book, all of those things. Every time you do things in partnership, so even though, Maude, when you send those things out, we send them out to the private, the things we didn't necessarily want to go for, we've made a partner. And we'll help you promote and everything else. I think that every opportunity we have to do that, even though we don't lose that one pot, but it keeps the toxicity down.
Well, but
it's exciting.
it builds
Yeah.
coherence and a sense of
Exactly.
belonging.
It
And
does.
that's and taking that, you can feel the toxicity, but if you can take that and flip that narrative around so that it has a positive messaging, elevating the culture of the dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of the coloring book too, when Cheryl and I met, she brought up the coloring book and we had talked about maybe when the branding has wrapped up,
That would be cool.
redoing another version.
Yeah.
Well, a new edition.
Yeah,
New
that would be
edition.
cool.
You want to know, because I think the old community playground was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny story about that one and me going into labor, but it was, right, building a playground. But now we have Jessica's playground.
Yeah.
There's so many other things
It would
that
be
really
nice to do another
belong
one.
in there,
Yeah.
that it's huge. We'd always wanted to do a second
Yeah.
edition.
And that would be fun to kick off the branding for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just write that on a future agenda right down
Well, even if-
there.
yeah,
No.
I was gonna say, did we get the viewfinder update? Can we
Yeah,
go
so
to
I
it?
was
kind
gonna
of, like,
say, so
danced around it a
are
little
you okay? Okay,
Yeah.
I know we touched on Viewfinder a lot, so was there anything else? I know Jennifer had to step out. Was there anything else for Viewfinder
Yeah, the takeaway that I have is that we need to make it really clear that you got to register.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we can add into our
Some
promotional
social media
materials.
push.
Yeah, because you see
Yeah.
the event on Facebook and you think,
Well,
you click going and you think you're all set. I didn't realize.
I just,
encouraging people.
well, the reason
Yeah,
I asked
so.
about the rec department is, you know, they have a waiting list,
Mhm.
you know, for
Yeah.
their soccer things. And it's so disappointing that a kid can't play soccer if they want to, you know, because the wait list is so long. But to offer, not every kid is athletic. It would be really nice for the, you know, for the rec department to help publicize that, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, you mean have them
Like
publicize
the
the viewfinder?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
ask Emily to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I
send a
think
message to
that would
Kate.
be huge.
Okay.
The other viewfinder update is we got that board on the town common reserved for next week, so we can put up something, so I'm getting a sign made.
Okay.
And I'll be in touch tomorrow. Maud, I've been off for a couple days, so that's why I haven't circled back, but I will circle back with you about that, so that hopefully will help too.
I think that kind of stuff, because the first one is like on the 26th, I want to say. Yeah, or the 22nd, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's a week and just a little over a week, but they go through May 10th. And I think, you know, people kind of come a little late to the game to some of these.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll help get the word out. We'll try. That'll be our focus.
A long time ago.
That. Any other wayfinding and branding updates, Maud?
We had some really great turnout really great feedback from the groups that were, so we had stakeholders, including business, local business owners, participate in a couple of focus group sessions to give wayfinding feedback. That was really helpful. We've also gotten and started synthesizing some of the survey feedback. We had the big public open house on both projects. So we're getting a lot of really great feedback, and there are some patterns that are beginning to coalesce, and there's getting to be a stronger and stronger idea. For both the branding and the wayfinding, branding pivoted recently to prioritizing the seal, which versions have already gone to Terry. So the plan is that Terry is going to vet them in advance to make sure that they will be appropriate. And then on Wednesday, they're going to the branding committee to be reviewed. And really, this will just be a way of kind of showing to the community about how this has progressed. And then the branding portion of the project will move forward. And then again, that will go into the wayfinding signage. But they're working on the signage plan within the focus area around the common and down along State. And then we'll do the templates. Cheryl?
Yeah, the seal.
So
I
the
got
seal,
the logo, but I didn't, I
the
got
seal,
the seal not changing.
it's getting digitized. Yeah.
Right, it's just getting digitized, right.
Yeah. And Terry is just ensuring that it is, so it's just going to have
She's
different.
gonna look at the real one and look at the new
And
one
look
and be
at the
like,
new
is
one.
this
Oh,
the
gotcha.
same?
Yeah.
And then we don't have to,
But you know that the artist is still alive and lives in town, right? The person
Yeah,
who did the original?
they've been working with historical to work through this. So the one that's painted right behind you
Yes.
is really lovely, but it is one of a number of versions.
Yeah.
Right,
That's not the official seal.
right, that's a line drawing. Yes.
There's like a piece of metal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
So this is just a process of digitization to make it usable.
and the logo, that's part,
That's
West.
also part of the branding process.
right.
but I think the order of things switched a little bit to prioritize, let's get the seal done so we could keep gathering more community input because we felt like we didn't have enough. So then once the seal is done, then we can move on and
Onto the,
focus on the branding piece.
But the feedback to date, I will say, across all the kind of like in-person focus group, survey, this, that, all the different is really consistent.
Yeah.
So I think it's like just driving home that there's like consensus here.
Yeah. Cool. It's exciting. We had town signage bylaws and artisan shed put on the agenda. I know we dove into it.
Yeah,
We
we
ended
dove
up
into
diving
it.
into it. Did you want
Right.
to add anything else
No,
with that?
just, well, I was just
Yeah.
looking to give an
No, this is
update
great.
about my meetings,
Yeah.
with Paul. And him asking, and I think the zoning bylaw is gonna be the hardest because that's a year away from us actually. Remember I said I really would like us to be able to do things that we can do
Yeah.
independent of reenacting the Revolutionary War on the Common, just simple things. That's why I'd love to even just know directionally when you're compiling all the data from the business owners and the surveys and stuff like that, which can, like for areas that we can get behind and we can say to the selectmen, hey, we support this. We want you to go in this direction. I think it'll go farther than the citizen sitting there in front of, the select board saying, can we change the town name back to Cold Spring, which never was Cold Spring. Or, anyway, I just think that getting that data that you're compiling and going through sooner than later, all going in, which will be super helpful to, again, letting people know we are doing something to increase revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are still open, and then we're going to leave it to the designer and the Stantec consultants to do the analysis because that's part of their scopes. But they're going to give us that material, and they've give us kind of like interim like reports on that. But we'll be able to get that, and absolutely, I think that's a great thing to share back. Is like, hey, we hear you. This is what you said.
And the easiest thing for us is going to be actually, and I think we can make a lot of noise about it. It's really you know what I'm saying, right? So is the artisan sheds.
Yes.
Paul thinks that's going to be super easy because it's already there. It'll just be a question of, because right now it's the square footage is kind of limited.
Yep.
Without having to go out and get a building permit and get it all inspected and everything like that. So we would just need to, for anybody to put a shed up.
Okay.
But if we make it specific in comparison with the farm stands, we make it a little bit easier for the joint artisans, everything else. I wish we had done it in time for Cold Spring Soapery and, there's one down on Bay Road too. And they have this right on the road.
I can picture it, yes.
Cart there that's, she's got something there, and I think Michael Sears Road, has one down there, or Fox Run, one of those, they got another one of those. But I just think, Paul seems to think that that's the easiest one. The signage bylaw itself is different, but I honestly think even skipping past the 16.6 up to 16.9, whatever, all of those things, just the verb, the words that they use right there doesn't sound warm and fuzzy and welcoming to businesses.
Yeah, and we could figure out a way to dive into that a little bit more too.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for
opening 100% under our privy.
Yeah, and thank you for opening up that conversation with Paul, Cheryl.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna put that under because I have a running list of agenda items, so I'm gonna put that on that with some because we've missed the town meeting mark this year, but I think that's a good goal for us to start looking at and gathering data to keep that on our radar to bring and get ready to put at next town meeting for sure. Yeah. Or however that has to, if it's a select board, but however we learn, but I think that 100%. So I'll put that on
the zoning.
Yeah, I'll put that on the I'll put artisan shed specifically separate since we're going to be looking at the bylaws through that grant program. Yeah.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
For the notes, can I just, when you're saying easy to add the artisan sheds, easy to add to what
So on the what requires building permits
Okay.
in the building inspector's office, you'll see like a farm stand doesn't require one.
So I think
Shed-
you just say zoning revision.
It's a zoning revision. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, but I don't think it has anything to do with zoning.
You think it's bylaw, not zoning?
Bylaws.
No, I think that anybody can put up a shed.
Yeah.
Like you can put a shed on
And
your
you
property,
just have to
but it has to be this small, you gotta
Yeah.
get a building permit, you gotta,
Yeah.
you know, do all of those other things. I mean, it would still have to meet all of those things,
Yeah.
but Paul just, we need to expand the size.
Yeah, just the language. Okay. And we could help get some data and things with that to help
And
our
Paul's all
artisans.
for it, so
Yeah.
he would help
Awesome.
guide us, tell us exactly what
Okay.
was required.
So-
How about if I'll do that, I'll do that.
Yeah, if you want to
And I'll
start
just
doing
send a
that, that'll
little
be kind of one
update,
of your.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I'll go and I'll meet with Paul, have
Awesome.
the time aside saying, what do we need to do to add this there?
That would be great. So I'll have that. I'll put that on our list. The only piece I know we don't have enough people, so I'll probably bring it up at the next one. Just to keep in mind, there's going to be, because we're talking about this is a next meeting agenda request. Just so I say I'm on topic still. I want to put on our kind of not end of year, but I want to get that celebratory piece of celebrating the bench, celebrating the art over at Lake Wallace area. My husband and I are, mainly Brian's taking the lead on it, are looking to do a trail run at that same time to really make this a big fall event.
We're looking at the beginning of
October right now is the date that's been thrown around. So I just want to get okay, yes, that sounds like something we'd be good to start putting on the agenda because that's going to be here before we know it. So that's my official agenda request to put that on. Because it could be a really cool, big collaborative thing where we can pull in maybe like some food, some fun, some running, some celebrate that area and hopefully get some fundraiser dollars to support Lake Wallace through it. Not us, but where we can, the rec department, the Friends of the Rec can legally, they found out they can do.
Is there a Friends of the Rec? Maintenance.
Not Friends of, sorry, the rec committee. The rec committee can accept and they found out wording of how they can, under Massachusetts laws, be part of that piece of the fundraising going with Lake Wallace, because it's, however it works under that, but sorry, misspoke on Friends of.
Yes, because
but
the rec department.
yeah,
can
the
charge
rec
for a program.
department can do things
They would
like
just
that.
make it a
Yeah,
program.
exactly.
That's it. That's all
So
they have
how
to
they
do.
can word it, because, and they can have money from that go to support Lake Wallace and the surrounding activities that are happening there. So yeah, that's that.
So I can just throw something in when we're considering doing things and especially like the food trucks and stuff, which I know you don't need any more grant supporting and stuff for doing that. You were talking about how many people who brought it up, the market study, we get this many people coming through town and everything else. I've always said, why don't we coordinate things with college move in and move out? You know, with all of these parents coming through town, they can't wait to get out of Amherst and they're still hungry.
No, it's a good,
When they're coming back, you know, just to have more events. So everybody knows Belchertown because they drive right through it. And they don't stay here.
We're changing that.
I know,
We'll stay.
but that's why I think that just even food trucks on the common would make somebody pull over, grab a quick meal, and, you know, get back and just dump it off the kid.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it would be wonderful. Okay. Next meeting date and time. Town meeting got moved, so we're May 12th, normal meeting time. Again, agenda requests, I'll send out the minutes and say, hey, let's get agendas by, any requests by this time, just so I can try to get the agenda out earlier. Okay.
Did anybody? Okay, we can adjourn.
All right, so can I have, or I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Meeting adjourned at 7:54. Thank you, everyone. I know our meetings get long. Bye, Matt.
See you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
So, two things.